Holy macaroni, 5 pages of script to share my thoughts on the pursuit of formal education like a degree and how I turned my career from a completely unrelated field into tech repair without any formal qualification, training or experience. But you know what? I can't put you through this torture, so let's scrap this and let's have a chat. Roll the intro. Hey Name Tags and welcome back. This is Ash from Here My Tech, helping you go from newbie to techie. So before we start, the usual disclaimer, this is not sponsored. The Amazon links or affiliate ones and any show notes will be in the description below and in the cards above somewhere. And also check out the timestamps if you want to skip ahead to certain specific parts of the video. But I'd rather you watch the whole thing. Thanks a lot. Now, I was going to wait for when I reach about 10,000 subscriber count, but I'm just under 7.5 thousand right now. However, I feel it's the right time for the following 3 reasons. Number one, it's summer holidays in UK here, and a lot of people are going to be going back to university or starting university, and I want to share my thoughts with you. It's the right time for that. And I really want to inspire and motivate you guys if you are considering going to uni or if you are undecided about it. Number 2, this video is going to explain and set the framework for the various directions and decisions I have taken for the channel. So the future projects of this channel will make more sense to you guys. And number 3, I cannot guess I should really introduce myself here formally on YouTube. But not to worry, I'm not going to talk about myself too much. I will give you value from it because there's nothing worse than a YouTuber who talks about themselves. Or is it now? Okay, a little background about myself. My name is Ash. I do computer repair. If you've just stumbled on this video, please consider subscribing. So I've been doing tech repair for the past 4 years roughly. Prior to this, I was actually a registered mental health nurse working in the NHS for 10 years, including my training of 3 years between 1999 and 2009. Yeah, think One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, except it wasn't as glamorous as that. Then again, we did have a lot of incidents, but the ending wasn't a Hollywood ending. We're also called psychiatric nurses. Now, briefly, what I like about nursing was obviously the various clinical skills which I gathered over the years, and these are going to be lifelong skills to use. I did like the patients, some of them at least, and I love the cases we used to get. Some of them were awesome and extraordinary, and the learning aspect of it was always welcoming. A quick note though, I did not restrict myself to mental health nursing. I was like a tomato, i.e. in any sauce possible. I used to go and find out whatever I could learn from places like accident and emergency or assessment, etc. I love all the clinical aspects of it. Now, some things which I didn't like, starting with the amount of paperwork that we had to do, and that's pretty much true for any field these days. The unsocial hours, the nonsensical management decisions that was starting to affect the NHS, and as you know, the NHS is in terrible shape right now. The godlike complex of some psychiatrists, the poisonous mind-altering psychotropic medications that I used to have to forcibly administer under the Mental Health Act, and of course, some not so lovely colleagues of mine. Then again, maybe I was the black sheep of the team, I'm not sure. Previous colleagues, if you are watching this, please get in touch with me, and I do apologize if I ever made your life a living hell. So over the years, I started resenting the NHS, the job, the colleagues, the patients, but even worse, I started resenting myself. One day, the last drop came when, after a period of annual leave, I resumed duty on a pattern of night shifts. And there was one particular patient who was allowed, and I would say the word allowed, to escalate so bad that due to a systematic failure of the whole process of care, he became extremely psychotic, extremely dangerous. He smashed the whole ward, burst into the office, smashed through the window, picked up a safe, threw it at me. I don't know how I managed to escape. I did get a couple of cuts and bruises. My colleagues ran for safety, and other wards which were supposed to come and help, they actually just peeped through the window, and with not a single of them trying to help me. So I had enough, and one day I just called up the ward and said, look, I'm not coming to work. They asked if I was sick, and I say, no, I'm quitting. And I put the phone down and never looked back since then. I don't think I even wrote a resignation letter. I was that mad at the whole system. But you know what? Freedom was brilliant. Now, I need to say, I'm not dissing on nursing as a profession as a whole. I think it's a noble profession, It's getting very difficult more and more, and it's getting very hard for the nurses to stay into nursing. But if you have the guts for it, go for it. It just wasn't for me anymore. Also, on that note, I was also offered a medical course to do a full 5-year MBBS degree in 2 universities. I had started an access to medicine course. If I had finished it with the right results, I would have been doing a doctor's training, but that's for later and I'll explain why. Right, so next chapter of my life, I thought, you know what, with no planning, I just quit my job. I'm just going to wait on tables or do any job that I could find, because nothing will be as stressful as, working as a nurse in the NHS. Turns out it wasn't that easy to find a job as a waiter. So I spent the next couple of years between mediocre jobs and also periods of unemployment. Come September 2013, I had to start some online studies and I needed a computer. So I bought this e-machine, which was a crappy mini desktop computer. And by the way, it doesn't work that well anymore. And almost immediately after buying that, I was offered another used desktop by a relative. It was an older AMD desktop with Windows 7 on there. So I had 2 computers and, I was just messing with both of them. The used desktop that was given by relative was very loud. And back then I didn't know the reason for it. In retrospective, I know now it was just a fan problem. The Windows 7 gave me some issues, so I thought about looking into an alternative OS and I found a Linux through online search and I tried it. But I was also trying to keep Windows, but being the complete noob that I was back then, I completely messed up my whole drive and I wiped off Windows 7 completely. And I didn't know how to get it back and I didn't want to pay a license or pay a shop to give me a pirated copy. So I stuck with Linux for a while. It was Ubuntu 12.04 LTS. And obviously, again, it was quite difficult for me to learn that because, it's very different to Windows. But after some research, it became quite easy. And I actually really enjoyed it. It was very stable. It was free. So open source, obviously, always welcome. And it was virtually virus free. So I stuck with Linux for a while, Ubuntu mainly, and did my studies with that. Then about 2 months after, my wife's laptop needed to get repaired. It was an older Acer something, I think 375 or 3575, I don't remember. That laptop had been repaired before with similar problems. It wasn't charging properly. So I took it to a shop. They said to me it was going to cost about £40 to repair. Because it had already been repaired before and we didn't have the money to get that done, I thought, let me have a go myself. It was very nerve-wracking. I hit YouTube, hit forums and searched for hours and days and took the courage, tried to open the laptop, very nerve-wracking, sweating like a pig, and eventually got all the ports out. And I saw what I thought was this suspect part, which was a charging port. It looked like the wires were broken off. So I took a chance, ordered the part from eBay. It cost me £3.50. I left the laptop open like an open surgery. Left all the ports out, all the cables, all the screws on the dining table. And I threatened my family, don't approach that laptop, don't approach that table. Left everything there because I was scared of losing a single screw. And 3 days later, the part came. I replaced that back. And then I found out I didn't remember how to put the thing back. So again, hit YouTube and cost me twice the amount of time to put everything back. I was left with some spare screws. Also looked like a bump in the middle of the keyboard of the laptop. But when I turned the damn machine on, woohoo! Eureka! It was alive. It was one of the most amazing feelings I ever got in my life. Saved myself money, learned a new skill, and wow! So after that, I spent a couple of months just playing with the laptop, the desk, and both desktops. And I gave my kids the e-machine to work on while I was using the desktop. Then it was around April 2014 when Microsoft decided to axe mainstream support for Windows XP. So because I was using Linux, I told my friends and family and my, some people in my neighborhood to try Linux. Obviously, no one ever heard of Linux before, as you do. So I tried to explain it to them because I know if they went for a shop to get the Windows installed, they would be getting a pirated copy for cheap. It would give them problem. More importantly, it will slow down their system. So much so it would be unusable, and also the virus problem. So I said to them, look, try Linux. They asked me to do it for them. For a small fee, I was installing Linux for them, maintaining their PC, cleaning it, and doing some slight upgrades, like, maybe adding a couple of RAM here and there, changing a hard drive, etc. Nothing major. But soon enough, my friends and family in my neighborhood started referring to me as a computer repair technician, which I wasn't, but I chose not to deny it, just went with the flow. And I started getting calls just by word of mouth for people to come and fix their various computer stuff. But when I went there, they were also giving me like TVs and printers and other gadgets to try and fix. And I had no idea how to fix any of them, but I acted very confident. I didn't say no to any job because I was confident I would have to spend hours Googling for a solution, right? So I just said, yeah, sure, I'll have a look, I'll take them. So I never said no to a single job, and I started getting a lot of tech from them to repair. Sometimes they chose not to get it repaired, so they left it with me for free. So after a while of doing all these different repairs, I decided I wanted to start doing some PC gaming. My cousin gave me a used graphics card. It was an older Radeon Sapphire HD 5770, I think, 1GB DDR3, can't remember. So I bought myself a combo of motherboard, CPU and RAM from eBay used. It was an AM2 Plus combination, and that was quite a decent entry-level gaming PC. At the time, I think I was trying Tomb Raider and Hitman Absolution, which was working fine. But soon enough, as you would, I wanted to build my very first brand new complete gaming PC, still entry level. But back then, when I was looking into gaming PCs, I saw Dual Graphics and I mistook the information of Dual Graphics meaning double FPS. So I wanted to build a Dual Graphics setup. So I went with AMD obviously, but while trying to set it up, it was not being enabled on the AMD Catalyst Control Center. That's when I hit the forums again on YouTube and could not find a single straightforward answer. But based on a couple of hints and tips from forums, I bought a second RAM stick, put it in, done the setup again, and voila! Dual Graphics was enabled on my system. And I knew that the information out there wasn't very clear, so I decided to do a tutorial on that, and it was a very terribly produced part, 15 minutes, bad lighting, no scripting, but the actual content part was kind of decent. I uploaded it, and lo and behold, I had lots of response from it. It was amazing to see that me, who did not know much about computing, was actually helping others in parts of the world, and I was also getting feedback and follow-up questions. From that time, I decided, you know what, I need to look into computer a bit more and start maybe sharing the things I've learned over the last few months. So I continued in similar fashion, getting more and more things to get repaired. And because I was so inquisitive and never ever say no to any job, to my demise sometimes, I learned a lot of skills over the next few months. That's why I decided to start sharing on YouTube. Okay, so let's skip ahead to now. I had no formal qualification, no formal training, and no prior experience prior to 3 years ago. I just want to reassure you guys that although I started with no knowledge, as evidenced on my channel, that if you do subscribe to me, I will be sharing everything that I know with you, and I hope you're going to share this journey with me. So please consider subscribing if you haven't done so by now. But the main point I want you to take from this, I had no knowledge and no skills in a field which was completely distant to what I was trained in. And yet, because of two things, one, an internet connection, and two, a will to try things out, I turned those skills into earning a living for free. You could argue that it cost me an internet connection and electricity. Well, I had internet connection already, and as for electric bills, the cost of research on a computer is negligible if you compare that to the cost of tuition fees for a degree. So now I have a growing YouTube channel, an online presence, a local repair business, and the will to keep developing my entrepreneurship skills. But even better than that, I want to create relationships with you guys, with people that I meet, with cultures and from countries I have never even heard of before. Okay, I mentioned medicine before, and here's the reason why. I love studying. I think everyone should study until they die, no excuse. But do I believe that a degree is the absolute only way for you to become educated and to earn a decent living? Not anymore. I am an example of this, and I know I'm not the only one. I'm also not a genius, right? So many people, so many successful people. I can think of Steve Jobs, initially didn't have a college graduation. Branson, Virgin guy. Brian Tracy, a motivational speaker and businessman. They didn't have any college degrees. And you can Google a lot more people who are very successful without a college degree. In fact, I love studying so much that I'm actually doing a degree part-time online, not because I have to, but because I want to. And I probably will not even make a living out of it. I could, but I probably won't. This is going to be my means of living. Also, this disclaimer, I do believe that some fields must have a degree if you want to build a career from it, like medicine, like engineering, okay? Absolutely. But for a lot of people, no. Consider alternatives like apprenticeships or short courses. Or what about those skills trade like plumbing or electrician? You don't need a degree to do this stuff. I could even argue to a certain level, marketing, and even to do a business. Do you need a degree to do a business? No, you just need common sense. And most of this information you will find online and mostly for free. Sure, it's a bit disjointed at times, it's unstructured like here on YouTube. But as with most things, you only need the basics and the rest will come with trial and error, which is called experience at the end of the day. Because if you think that at university you're going to learn everything you need to succeed in your work life, think again and ask people around you. You only learn theory, which most of the time doesn't even apply in real life. So I don't want to say waste of time, but I certainly think it's a misstep for many people who just want to do a degree. They don't even know why. Think about an alternative. One example, travel, okay? If you decided to start traveling, right, country to country, imagine the richness of your wealth, and I'm talking about here financial wealth, personal wealth, psychological wealth, emotional wealth, the whole shebang. Imagine the richness of that compared to if you just sat at a university for 3 years. Initially, it'd be awesome, but then the novelty effect would wear out and you'd be in a repeated routine every day, and you'll find out that eventually you're paying an organization huge tuition fees just to end up having to study the course yourself. Yeah, that's what happens. I've been to uni. I know. You can ask people around you. Can you imagine after 3 years of traveling, and if you come back to home base, can you imagine the potentials and the opportunities you would have created? And during those travel, do you not think you can actually study anything you want as well? Think language. Or think businesses, you could start trading in anything you want. And if you don't want to pay for certain courses that you may want to take online, think skills swap in the local area you're going to end up. Think about it. If you did do a degree and you qualify in it, the chances of you getting a job at the level you studied for and in the field that you want is very slim. Now, you can vouch for this because you have people in your friends and family and neighborhood who have just finished a degree or who are doing a degree. You can ask them. And I'm pretty sure you can pick up a newspaper, right? You know of the crisis globally about the job security and the tuition fees rising every day. But even if you're one of the lucky ones to actually get a job with your degree, you'd be working at the bottom of the ladder. And the chances of climbing up is very slim because if you look around you, all your colleagues is going to have the same exact degree as you and everyone's competing. So what's the chance, right? Okay, but please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't do a degree. I'm saying if you want to do a degree, do it for its own merit rather than for the disillusion that at the end of the degree, your life will be happy ever after. Because most of the time it's not anymore. But I do encourage that you should consider studying all your life, whether it's a degree or not. All I'm saying is you should take chances, take risks. When opportunities knock on the door, open them, just, and never let anyone tell you what you can't do. Don't let people define your goals. You should define them. In other words, if you want to know your limit, you need to go and push them yourself. I am only one example, and I know I'm not the only one. And if you share this journey with me, hopefully we can help each other to see where we can reach. Right, hope this video was inspiring for you. I want to know what your goals are, and if you may want to consider not doing a degree, or even if you are doing a degree, what were you planning to do? And what alternatives would you be willing to go for? Also, there's nothing wrong with starting a degree, but also thinking about something on the side. You never know what things could work out for yourself. So hopefully you've liked this video, so give me a thumbs up or dislike and comment below. Consider subscribing if you haven't done so yet. As always, this was a pleasure. This was Ash from Heal My Tech, helping you go from newbie to techie. Until next time, peace out.